reason for something like this is to have the capacity for a wider blade and more horsepower. You can resaw dense hardwoods much more easily. The width of the blade gives you your beam strength. And if you don't have a lot of beam strength, then your blade is going to deflect variable TPI. So if you look very closely at this, these teeth right here are further apart than these ones down here. Previously, wouldn't have even thought this was possible. I would have thought to get this type of surface, you'd have to run it through the saw and then run it through a planer. But the thing with ceramic is that it is a great conductor of heat, but actually that's a mark of quality, because what they've done is they've balanced the wheel, the amount of inertia in those wheels, that blade is just gonna spin forever and ever. You know, nothing's going on here. Reach their hand in and, you know, blood starts splurting everywhere and people start screaming. Hey folks, welcome back to DIY guitar making. Isn't this the most beautiful thing you have ever seen? This is my new dedicated Resaw bandsaw. So it's a Laguna LT20, which means it has a 20-inch resaw capacity, which is just nuts. I really don't need 20 inches of resaw capacity, but I'll take it. The real reason for something like this is to have the capacity for a wider blade and more horsepower so that you can resaw dense hardwoods much more easily than, say, for example, on my older bandsaw, which this is just a 14-inch Craftsman. Now in this case, 14 inches refers to the wheel diameter, not the resaw capacity. The resaw capacity on a 14-inch bandsaw is about 9 inches, I believe. And you can resaw on a really small bandsaw like this. I shouldn't say really small. This is kind of your typical, you know, garage shop size bandsaw. And you can resaw on it, but because of the capacity for the width of the blades, which in this case, let's see, the biggest, widest blade you can hold on this one is 3/4 of an inch, which is maybe what I have here. This might be a 1/2 inch actually. The width of the blade gives you your beam strength. And if you don't have a lot of beam strength to your blade, then your blade is going to deflect very easily, and in many cases, almost unstoppably. If you're doing a very tall resaw with a very dense wood, it's not going to be able to help but deflect a little bit, which is why when I used to resaw on this, it would be painstakingly slow, but then also I would have to set up a resaw bar on my fence in order to account for the drift as I was cutting. On this, you do not need a resaw bar. This is 1.25 inches width. So the amount of beam strength you get from that blade is insane. You know, I almost got the, I was looking at, I didn't have an opportunity actually, but I was searching for a Laguna Resaw King, which has the capacity for a 2-inch blade, which is just nuts. It really is. I'm glad I kind of talked myself out of that, because honestly, after using this, like, there's nothing, I feel like there's nothing more I would be getting from 2 inches of blade width compared to 1.25 inches. 1.25 inches is already just indestructible for anything I'll be doing, and I am cutting very dense hardwoods. And the blade that I've got on here is the Laguna Resaw King. Actually, let me take one of my brass brushes here. I like to use a brass brush and just clean this up. It actually looks pretty good, but this is something you just want to do every once in a while. You know, keep those gullets clean and keep it cutting smooth. But yeah, so this is the Laguna Resaw King. This bandsaw, when I originally got it, had a different blade on it, which was the Lennox Castmaster, which I was a little bit confused about when I looked it up, because it seems that it's not specifically built for cutting wood, although it does cut wood. It's made for cutting castings. I will say I used it for a while and I actually really liked it. In fact, I liked it so much that I thought the cuts were as good as anything I've ever experienced before on other dedicated resaws. You know, since it had already been on the bandsaw for however many years, I'm not sure. I actually broke the blade after a while, which was kind of a happy accident because I then got my Laguna Resaw King, and my God, were the cuts even smoother. So I can't say enough good things about the Resaw King line of blades that Laguna sells. Oh, and one other thing about these blades is they're variable TPI. So if you look very closely at this, you'll notice that these teeth right here are further apart than these ones down here. I think on this blade, it's alternating between 3 TPI and 4 TPI. So what you get from that is the best compromise between smoothness and speed of cut. So the larger gullets that you have on the 3 TPI teeth are great for ejecting material, which allows you to push the workpiece through faster. But then alternating, coming right behind those large gullets, are smaller gullets with closer together teeth, and those closer together teeth give you a smoother cut. That's the one problem with really coarse teeth with huge gullets, is they're going to leave a coarser cut on the surface. Unless, you have the variable TPI where you're getting the fast ejection of the material from the 3 TPI teeth, but then it's immediately being followed up by closer together 4 TPI teeth, which smooth out the coarseness of the 3 TPI. It's really cool. I've used these a lot in the past, so it's nothing new, but if you haven't used a variable TPI blade yet, and you're into resawing, you got to check it out. It's definitely a game changer. And one other cool thing about this bandsaw are these cool blocks, which I really like. It's a different way, rather than the guide bushings, you have these ceramic blocks, and the idea is that the blade, when it shifts to the right or to the left, or all the way to the back, because there's another ceramic block in the back, rather than hitting a bearing that spins and keeps the blade aligned in the center, it hits this ceramic block, and you're actually wearing the blocks out over time. And so eventually you need to replace these ceramic blocks. But the thing with ceramic is that it is a great conductor of heat. So it's not going to overheat. It actually just pulls the heat away from the blade and away from the situation. So it's kind of a great material for a wear surface. Anyway, with the cool blocks, you can actually set them up so they're a lot closer to the blade than you can with standard guide bushings, like you see here on this other bandsaw. You can basically set these up so they're right on the blade. By the way I got this bandsaw was I went to an auction, so I got a hell of a deal on this thing. It was $1,800. I won the auction. This saw retails for a little under $7K. So $1,800, I think, is an absolute steal. By the way, just fun little story. I also got at that same auction this saw stop for, get this, $200. Yes, just $200 for a saw stop. And right now, me and my electrical engineer friend are working on getting this hooked up, since it's 3-phase and we need to convert it, link it up to our VFD in the other room to convert that 3-phase to single phase. But anyway, $200 for a saw stop is insane. Basically, no one at the auction I went to was the least bit interested in that saw stop, so I was literally the only person that threw my hand up, and so I won it. Yeah, so let's talk more about this awesome bandsaw. So it's got a foot brake, which I've never had before in any bandsaws. The purpose of the foot brake is once you stop the blade, especially on the bigger wheel diameter bandsaws, it's almost just a safety necessity to have a foot brake, because when you hit that stop button, the amount of inertia in those wheels, that blade is just going to spin forever and ever silently. And It's a huge liability, especially if you have like employees or something, lots of people walking around in the shop. You're just asking for someone to walk past this like a minute after you've turned it off and think that, you know, nothing's going on here, reach their hand in and, you know, blood starts splurting everywhere and people start screaming. So order of operations here is when you turn this thing off, you then hit the brake and stop the blade. There's a little pad that goes against the side of the lower wheel and it just brings it to a stop. So that's pretty cool. Oh, this is Italian made. Now, for you guys who know a lot about bandsaws, you know that Italian bandsaws are kind of, I don't know, like it's a little bit of a hoity-toity thing to say you have an Italian bandsaw. I didn't realize this until I was really getting into the weeds on researching my new bandsaw. But what I found is that the Italians really know their bandsaws. For some reason, they have cornered that market. You know, they wake up in the morning and all they think about is how to make the best pasta and the best bandsaws. And just to show you one example of this Italian craftsmanship here, is one thing you'll notice on really nice high-end bandsaws. You see these little rivets on the wheel? They might seem a little random and out of place. That's because what they've done with this wheel is they've balanced it. So straight off of the factory floor, let's say, when you make these wheels, like on a, you know, a cheaper bandsaw like this, where you won't see the rivets, and they just, you know, take the wheel and put it on there, that wheel is not going to be perfectly balanced. And so it'll work fine, but you'll get a little bit of vibrations from that, which will affect the smoothness of your cut. And so whenever you see something like this, which almost looks like shoddy craftsmanship or something, like a mistake was made, like why are these little things there? But actually that's a mark of quality, because what they've done is they've balanced the wheel so that you don't have these vibrations. You know, in a way, it's kind of synonymous to what we do as guitar makers. Like on very high-end boutique guitars, yeah, we might be cutting our braces to certain specs, but then in the end, we actually voice the guitar, we shave the braces down just a little bit more and tap on it and get it, in a sense, balanced, just like they've done with this wheel. Whereas on a cheap factory guitar, they're just cutting everything to spec and gluing it on there, and you get what you get. Yeah, look for that when you're looking at bandsaws. Look for these little rivets. That's always a good sign. And see, here they are on the bottom wheel as well. There's one there and two over here. By the way, all this is so dusty in here because I don't have this hooked up to dust collection yet. That's kind of the next thing coming here. As many of you guys know, I just recently moved into this shop, so got a long way to go as far as hooking everything up. Let me show you guys some of the stuff I've been cutting with this too. Actually, I've got something right here. This is Spessart oak with an insane flake figure, and I've cut up a ton of that. But let me show you the tonewood room I have here. And here you can see a bunch of tops. And this is what I really want to show you. Look how smooth that surface is. This blew my mind the first cuts I started to make. This is straight off the saw. I previously wouldn't have even thought this was possible. I would have thought to get this type of surface, you'd have to run it through the saw and then run it through a planer. But this is actually straight off the saw. Now on a softwood, that's easier to do. It looks a little rougher on the hardwoods, but still the smoothness is insane. And that all has to do with basically the very reduced level of vibrations that you get from a well-made Italian saw. It's a very smooth ride, and so you don't end up with all these little bandsaw marks after you're cut. And so up here we've got a bunch of wangi, some of that Spessart oak. This is Tasmanian blackwood, walnut over here, and there's some rosewood mixed in, some Cerakote. And yeah, that bandsaw just eats through everything. It is amazing. I could not be more psyched about this thing. So anyway, I just wanted to nerd out a little bit with you guys and talk about how much I love that bandsaw. That's all I have to say. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.
If you learned something here, please give this video a like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new DIY guitar making video. And if you want to really learn more, take one of my structured online courses at ericschaferguitars.com or register for a hands-on guitar building workshop here with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania.